Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing okay, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. I am home from Ithacon.
Yay.
Unfortunately, Mike did not make it to Ithacon because life happens, and it happens. You were sorely missed, as I said to you earlier.
I,
Um,
I deeply regret not being able to make it. As I mentioned to you, I think it was the first time in my life I've ever not appeared at a con where I was advertised to appear. I take that very seriously, so I felt terrible and missing my friends. I felt terrible, and I know that um, some things were set up, but hey, shit happens.
it does. These things happen. Um, like I said, you were missed. There were folks looking for you. Um, Tonight we are going to talk about. We're going to celebrate stuff because
Good.
there's too much crap. Too much crap is we're gonna not talk about crap. Well, we'll probably talk about it a little bit, but we're gonna celebrate. We're gonna celebrate because this medium, comic books that we talk about all the time, and pop culture in general, is a way for us to escape the horrible, um, bitter, pissy things that are happening in this world, and they happen far too frequently and without any break. So,
Particularly
we're gonna
the past few days.
particularly.
It
So
has
we
been a bitch of a week.
it has been a bitch of a week. We're gonna talk about some things, and we're gonna celebrate some things as they come along. But we're gonna talk about um, we're gonna talk about some passings. They've happened, and unfortunately, Mike's lost. We're going to talk about three people that Mike's lost in the last 3 days. Um, and they're important. And so I know this isn't going to be so great, but we're going to talk about them in a celebratory way. We're going to talk about what makes it important to remember people and celebrate their lives. Um, so we're going to start with Jerry Conway passing. So Jerry Conway passed the other day. We all kind of knew this was happening. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
he had announced he was doing his last signings, um, and just terribly sad. Even though we knew it was coming, right? And in all of these cases, everyone, people get sick, and we can't sometimes we can't get better. But
That's true of all three of the folks we're going to be
yeah,
discussing.
yes, absolutely. All of them were ill. We knew that they were struggling with health. But let's talk about the things that these people have left for us. Jerry Conway wrote so many comics, so many comics. This is a couple. This is six on the screen in front of you. Six thing. Uh, Six comics. He created Firestorm with Al Milgrom. He co-created Ms. Marvel with Carol Danvers. Power Girl is another one of the people that he brought forward. He co-created the Punisher, Vixen, Jason Todd, Fire Lord, Count Vertigo, and then there's a whole bunch of things that he created that Roy also might say he created. So I don't want to say it because Roy might get mad at me. Because,
All right, here's the bird's eye lowdown on that. Jerry Conway created Roy Thomas.
well, that's fair. So, but one of the things about it, one thing about him is he was, is font of, creativity, giving us these stories, you know, leaving a legacy and talking about it to other people, and there's a famous story that's kind of running around now about how there was a time when Paul Levitz was like furloughed or laid off at DC, and between I think it was between Joe Orlando and Jerry, they kind of put together and scraped enough money for him to have per diem for 3 days a week or something like that till he could be rehired. You were that was before your time, I think, right?
It was just before my first tenure at DC,
Right.
but it was the beginning of the end for the publisher
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of his decisions were felt to be capricious and did not inure to the benefit of the bottom line. And I looked up a lot of those sales figures to some of the books that were canceled and stuff, and that was true. I mean, there was no reason to cancel those books. Paul Levitz, who was laid off, sort of, if not for Jerry and Joe, but he came up with the idea that when Carmine Infantino, brilliant artist, came to work as publisher, he had a dartboard, and he would just throw a dart at the board and cancel whatever book that was. Boom, pow. And that made just as much sense as any other theory. I love Carmine personally because I didn't work for DC when he was running the place. When word got out that I had lunch with him to offer him a Batman gig, the newspaper strip, a couple of folks sort of said, he's not going to come into this building, is he? And I said, well, according to him, he certainly isn't. They were very pleased by that. Okay, I understand. I didn't go through that. So I have nothing to say about that. He was a wonderful guy, and when I was sitting there in his living room, all I can think of was, I'm in Carmine Infantino's living room.
Sure.
That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, we're trying to talk about how to do Batman as a strip and professional stuff, and mostly we talked about Alex Toth, though.
Well, as one does, he often
As
comes
one
up.
does. He does. Yeah.
we had some conversations about him this weekend as well. The interesting thing about, and this is one of the legacies of Jerry, and kind of the perfect example for people who don't understand who comic book folks are. So Jerry Conway created the Punisher. And my understanding from reading what he said is that he was proud of the character, but not proud of the way people co-opted the character. And it's something we're going to get into later on. Hopefully, I would like to get in that conversation with our guest. We do have a guest tonight, folks. Jeff Parker's sent me an email about a minute ago. He's going to be in the backstage in a few minutes. But I want to talk about that with him too. But just being aware of that this is make-believe and that our heroes are supposed to win. And supposed to be the hero. Understanding that. I mean, I think that's a perfect example of this. I don't think you can buy 5 comic books that were written in the 70s or early 80s and not have at least one Jerry Conway book in there.
Yeah, but that's because almost all of the comics that were published by DC and Marvel.
Well, I understand that, but still, there was a lot of them.
Oh yeah. He had a voluminous output, as they say. And then he left to do TV. Did some movies.
Yes.
One with Roy. Had a fabulous television career. And this is rough for me to say, but he entered television a comparatively advanced age. In other words, he was more than 14, and with before too long, he wound up, being story editor of all kinds of like Law and Order shows. He was involved in others as well, but the Law and Order franchise is probably the one he's best known for. My favorite comic book work of his was Scalp Hunter.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I have also another Western he did. We had in Canceled Comic Cavalcade. I don't know if it was ever published.
No.
Called Cinnamon, that I really liked.
Well, I mean, Cinnamon existed, but outside of the Cavalcade, I just don't know if it was before then.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't recall.
I mean, it's just so many amazing things. Like, I'm just scrolling, and there's so many books, so many things he created. Well, I mean, here's a perfect example of perseverance, right? So he had co-created Vixen in the 70s, and there was supposed to be a Vixen series that got killed in the implosion.
Mm-hmm.
I think issue 1 made it into the Cancel Comics Cavalcade, and then he brought her back when he made Justice League Detroit, and that made her enduring character in the DC universe, which I think is important. I think she's an important character.
Absolutely. And they've done wonders with her. She's been involved in all of DC's efforts in terms of television, in terms of the animated shows and stuff. Very, very good character. Damn well about time when she was created. Marvel did the same thing with Wolverine. Len Wein had created Wolverine. Hi, Roy. For the Hulk, and then the character was well received, and when they relaunched the Uncanny X-Men, they decided that Wolverine was about as uncanny as you can get. Let's put him in. So it was the same sort of thing. And now Wolverine was like the biggest thing in the world, or at least was for the 70s and 80s and 90s stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, well, as we talked about, the theme of the night is celebrations, and man, what is there not to celebrate about the volume of what Jerry Conway has brought to this medium and to the world at large? There are people out there who've never read a comic in the world who know things that Jerry Conway created.
Oh yeah,
he
was also editor in chief at Marvel for, I think it was like 42 days.
42, yes. Well, good for that. 42.
I agree.
42 is it's the perfect number.
It sounds like the right amount of time. I don't know if I would last 42 days in that role at Marvel at that time.
Well, that's where we are with Jerry. Thank you for that. Thank you, Jerry. Godspeed, and we're gonna move on. So, folks, Jeff Parker is trying to be here. He's in the backstage. He's not connected, probably. He's not connected to the thing, but he's going to figure it out. I have faith in him. In the meantime, we're going to talk about some other celebration. He's getting there. All right, we're gonna bring him in a second. There was another passing that happened today in the world of comics and academia and Mike's life. Len Straczewski passed away today. He had a lot of health issues, and was in struggles for some time. So we think of this as a blessing, and let's celebrate some of the amazing things that he contributed to this world. It's funny. I he wrote a lot more than I have in my collection, but almost everything in my collection that I have, Mike's name is also on. Um, um, this more than just what here, but like he did. He along the way created Prime and the Malibu Ultraverse, and he is also credited with creating Jesse Quick, which is a fantastic character. And my understanding, Mike, I'm going to give you a moment if you'd like to talk about how awesome Len was, and we celebrate him. That's what we're doing. We're not mourning, we're celebrating.
Absolutely. I had known Len for upwards of a half century, and yeah, he was. I like what Mark just said,
Yeah.
and I agree with Mark, another Chicagoan. But every time I'd go back home, we'd get together, usually at a wonderful pizza Italian beef place called Gulliver's, which is non-extant, which saddens me greatly, although right now not so much. He and Brian Augustine were childhood friends, and by childhood, by childhood I mean they were in kindergarten together.
I believe it. I did.
That's childhood friends.
I did see Brian Augustine's name also around a lot of the things that he did too.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Thick as thieves, as they say. Awesome. Brilliant man, fast wit, incredibly knowledgeable. A journalist long before he got into comics. A teacher of journalism at Columbia College in Chicago. He wrote for trade publications. He certainly wrote for comics publications, all kinds of great stuff. He was part of a little kind of clique, like Mike Pearbeck was part of that. And when I think of Mike and Brian and now Len, I have a hard time today keeping it together.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you one story involving Len and Brian and a bunch of other people. Bobby Greenberger was there, who hates being called Bobby, and many others. Len was in town, meaning New York, for a birthday. This was like 30 years ago. And for his birthday, Brian thought it would be perfect to take him to Mickey Mantle's restaurant. I quite agreed, because Len was an even bigger baseball fan than Greenberger and Augustine, and that says a lot.
It does.
And he worshipped Mickey Mantle. He also was a White Sox fan, which normally would have put him at odds with me, but he grew up on the South Side, which is what made him a White Sox fan.
Fair enough.
And then
you can't argue with geography.
No. Well, not in Chicago. And he moved up to the north side, up by the lake, by the Evanston border, and that's a horrible thing for a White Sox fan to do. Nelson Algren did that, but in reverse, and it was just a terrible, terrible thing. So we took him to Mickey Mantle's place, and we're all, about, 8 of us or something. And we're all sitting around a big ass table, and we're having fun. And Mickey Mantle's restaurant was pretty cool. It was as cool as you would hope it would be, certainly for those prices. However, on our way out, Mickey was there.
Oh boy!
And he did go to his own restaurant.
Well, I knew that.
While. It wasn't unusual for him to be there.
Yes,
but Len still lucked out. He was there right there. Right. And Len got a chance to meet and talk with Mickey Mantle and shake his hand, and have the ultimate fanboy experience. And I, along with his other friends, it was his birthday, thought, what a perfect moment at a perfect time at the perfect place. Ah, Len, I'm so sorry, man.
Well, these memories that you have are important, and they celebrate him and his life, and we'll have them now. They're all here. They're all that story is now forever on the internet, and other people will hear it, and other people will get the things that he's written and talked about. And
One more thing about
yep,
Len.
yep.
The page of his diary that I have not mentioned yet. He also wrote for Cardinal Cody, the
Hmm.
cardinal of the Catholic Church in Chicago, and a fairly notorious guy. In point of fact, Godfather 3 was based upon his most notorious affairs with the church and other people's. But he wasn't really at the crux of that whole scandal. That was a real scandal that really existed, to the point where Coppola actually took shots from the crime scenes and positioned his camera in such a way as to incorporate those locations at that very shot,
Mhm.
in those very shots in his movie. And Len was open and free just about absolutely everything. And an obnoxious little twit like me would ask him all the obnoxious questions. And the only ones he would not answer were about Godfather 3.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That is
And to
awesome.
this day, I don't know if he did that because he didn't want to talk about it, which would be perfectly understandable for those of us who have studied the situation, or if he was just, that was, just a running joke for him, which
Yeah.
would have
Well,
also been perfect. I suspect it was both, because Len was that smart.
yeah. Well, we're gonna bring in our guest in just a minute. But before we go, we have one more thing, one more celebration to do, one more celebration of life. Thanks everybody for being here and being patient with us and letting us, talk about these people. But also, yesterday
Yeah.
I got a text um from Mike, uh, you know, being upset about Pete Castanis.
Yeah.
Castanis.
Costanus. Yeah.
Castanis.
Yeah.
Um,
Pete.
a lifelong friend of or a longtime friend of Mike's, at least. He was the chronicler of the Vanished Chicagoland Facebook page, among other things. But um, the um, the need to be a historian and the need to chronicle things is something that is endemic within comic books in general, comic book writers and creators. The concept of telling a story that means something. And so, Pete wanted to do that. He wanted to, remember the world that he lived in, or that people grew up in, so that there would be lessons learned or stories to remember, or even just the simple bit of nostalgia. And it's one of the things that has been talked about recently with, I ended up talking about that. The theme of nostalgia is, something that people have, and it's not necessarily selfish and self-serving. There's a lot that goes to furthering the tribe with that. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pete was a major comics fan. He was best known for the Vanished Chicago and Chicagoland website, because there are so many phenomenal stories. I mean, John Ostrander and I have wasted hours and hours of everybody's time, everybody we ever met, sharing some of these stories. Pete put them in print and on the air, because he also did a podcast. They were terrific. Um, and he covered some of the most interesting and, in some cases, nearly unbelievable stories, truthfully and accurately. He's been sick for a long time, and he kept us involved. He kept us aware. Had photographs up there, and was always explaining what was going on. And as things were digressing, we were all kind of sort of bracing ourselves. I mean, he tried to stay optimistic, but at his very last posting was that he had a relapse and he wasn't expected to make it. And I'm glad I heard about it from him first, if I had to hear about it at all. And
Sure.
I think it was very, very brave and thoughtful of him to keep all of his fans in the loop. I wish to say that in the past 24 hours, I am aware of Chicago television tributes, the local news, on Fox, on CBS, on others. He was honored by the Chicago History Museum for his work, given a plaque and all that, of which he was phenomenally proud, and has been all over the internet over the last 24 hours, as you can imagine.
I watched the Fox News.
Yeah.
It was good. People talked about how important he was and what he meant to us, and I want to thank everybody for giving us the time to talk about this. So as we said, and Jeff will get this, but it's the theme of the night is celebrations. We're celebrating people. We're celebrating the things that people have meant to us and given us. It's not about loss. It's about talking about what we got from it, what we gained, and what they've left behind for us to continue to grow in this world.
I should point out it's also a little scary. Two of my old Chicago friends dying within 24 hours, within pretty much the last 24 hours or 48 hours.
Yeah.
And all three were younger than me.
Well, that's okay.
I realized there isn't a ticket that you punch.
You're going nowhere.
People have been telling me that all my life.
Well, my wife has forbidden it, so that's it.
Okay. Well, that's it then. Thank you, Sherry.
All right, so I got to bring our guest in. I got one more thing that's pretty funny. We'll get to it later. Remind me about that email, because I do want to talk about that, because I think it's hilarious.
Okay.
But I want to bring in our guest. Welcoming back to the show, to the SquadCast. I did not look it up, but it's got to be over 100 episodes ago. Jeff Parker was here, and it was quite a while ago. I think, I'm pretty sure. And he's back. He's got a new book out that we're going to talk about. But in the meantime, let's have everybody welcome Jeff Parker to the show.
Wow.
Hey, how you doing?
Some deep cuts there, Bob.
How did I do? Are you okay?
Yeah, that's and it was making me think, because I was thinking when you guys were talking about Lynn, I think I met him back when we were both working on Malibu books.
Yeah.
Like that was my first jobs of any profile. I was drawing solitaire, and and he had done Prime. And at the time, I was in the studio with Mike Waringo and Chuck Wojtkiewicz and Richard Case and everybody. And Malibu like gave us I forgot who crapped out on them, because that's always the way,
Was this Was this a Malibu? It was a Malibu book, right? I love this story. Tell this story.
Yeah, no, there was this hard case maybe. We had to do a whole issue or something in a week, and
It was like issue 2, though.
yeah,
It was issue 2 of the book.
Like, that was pretty fast, guys. And and so we all got assigned different things, layouts, inks, blah blah blah, and everything. And Ringo was kind of the big draw, so he was sort of going around putting his stamp on it and everything, because that's what they wanted to see. And then we went and bought a copier.
That was the book that got you a copy machine.
Because copiers cost a lot of money back then. I guess they still do. Just no one would bother to buy like one of the big kinds, like one of the kinds like you get in Kinko's. It was one of those kind. And every time we had to have it fixed, we had to call a guy. And I remember meeting Lynn, I think in San Diego back then. Fun guy. And thanks for that Mickey Mantle story. That was a really nice story to hear. And all the stories were great. That's a tough transition. I was like, oh man.
No, it's good stuff. Listen, we're talking, this is about celebrating. It's about celebrating people. There's a lot of bad shit going on in the world. We said this before you got here. And so we're not going to talk about it.
No, wait. There.
Yeah.
There. Right.
Here, good celebrations.
Yeah, here. Happy. Talented people that we like. We can talk about.
Exactly. There's a bunch of stuff I want to talk to you about. But let's start with the perfect timing of this. I'm like, oh, we should get Jeff on the show. And then, hey, guess what's coming? The Stitch book.
Yay.
Written and drawn by Jeff Parker. What is it? Tell us about this.
Yeah, this is I was originally going to write this. Like I was working on Zootopia for the Disney Dynamite.
Right.
I just lump them in as one thing.
Disney Dynamite's fair.
Yeah, Nate Cosby handles a lot of these Disney books for Dynamite. And I was working on Zootopia, and that was a blast. And thankfully, the new movie came out. It's great. That was a big relief because I'm going to do more of that. Nate remembered me talking about Lilo and Stitch because it's maybe my last favorite 2D thing of Disney's. Came out in the early part of this century, which is a weird thing to say.
Was it this century? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's 2003, I think, or 4.
That's this was 2026.
It's all just
this century is
over 20 years.
Over a quarter done.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. I think it's obscene.
I spent a fair amount of time in the last century, and so this is kind of weird.
I never believed in math.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's just a theory.
So
anyway, that's
now you were going to write
Chris Sanders designs, directing the movie and everything. Anyway, it's really beautiful, and it was done by the Florida crew of Disney Animation. And when you guys probably remembered going to Disney World and when they had the animation tour, it was really good. It was such a good tour. Mm-hmm. They show you a tear-jerking compilation of Disney scenes that you forgot about but mattered to you growing up. And then you walk through and you see the animators down like they're in this big terrarium at the time, and they had all these cool desks. And I was just like, oh, that's so neat. Look at them. And like, I hope they can't see me. This is really annoying, I bet. And but
Pretty
they
much, yeah.
yeah, and that crew would always do like little pickup scenes and stuff while the Burbank team did the main things. And Lilo and Stitch was their first full feature.
That's awesome.
And typically people say that, no one was expecting, they were expecting, of course, to just kind of look down on it like, oh, how nice for you, little trained under glass monkeys, to get this thing done or whatever. And then it came out and it just was amazing.
Yeah.
Like they went running back to, the rest of the 9 old men and were asking everybody questions about stuff that hadn't been done in years in animation, like using watercolor and things like that. and they just did such a beautiful job, and it's funny and just very universal. And so, that one's always stuck with me as one of my favorites. And then when Nate said, we want to do a 200-page book that's sort of like a journal that they make. When I started writing it, I realized, like, to get the journal thing, to get the kind of feel of a kid making a book for you, it was kind of hard to do a traditional script. I was like, God, this is a lot. This sounds like the whiniest thing ever. This is a lot of writing. Because, kids will do all these little funny asides and scrawls on the side and stuff that if you try to write it out, it just looks really unnatural. And I was worried it would come across unnaturally. And that also you're always dealing with people. This is my thing I'll say to anybody when you're working on things that have to be approved, like a licensed project. No one wants to read a script. Nobody. Your own editor doesn't want to read a script. No one wants to read these things. They just. I know you do.
No, I don't. No, I don't. Because I've edited Alan Moore, and an Alan Moore script is as thick as the old Manhattan phone book.
Yeah.
So that's my go-to when I think about that.
And everyone took the wrong lesson from those. I remember when those first started, like excerpts of his Watchmen and stuff started getting printed. And then a lot of writers breaking in thought, that's the way I need to write. And it's like, no.
Oh, no.
Like Alan Moore can do that because he just likes to go along anyway. And he didn't really expect everybody to read it all. It's like, but it does have I think we may have even said this last time I was here, but I can't remember. It has the effect of, you went, oh, this guy's really been thinking about this. I better step up, when you're drawing that script. So that's a plus in the side for the long script. But also, Dave Gibbons went through with a highlighter and just got the key parts that he needed after he read it all the way through.
Anyway, that's what Dave says.
That's what he says. I believe him. I have no reason not to doubt him on that.
I think Kevin O'Neill read it more clearly.
Maybe.
I think there was a lot of the background stuff that Kevin O'Neill put in there that was probably in the script.
And I'm trying to remember. I remember Brian Bolland coming to some stateside shows, and I was in college and I was bugging him about stuff or whatever. He was extremely friendly and generous with his time and all that. And I'm trying to remember what he said about it. Whatever it was, he never had an unkind word to say about anybody. But anyway, so totally different situation. Now, say you're writing for something that several people are going to have to sign off on, and
Right.
And it's like it's the blind man describing the elephant scenario where everybody may interpret your words differently and come away with something you're not intending at all. So remembering I could draw, I got the template for the book and I just started roughing out the book and writing in rough lettering and everything. And I gave the whole thing to them that way. I would send over like 20-page chunks. And it was great because they got back a lot faster once I started doing that. And then somewhere in there, I just thought, well, now I've got the page like half done. And I was like, I asked Nate, I said, do you think I could just draw this? And at the time, they were originally saying, it's like, oh, it's going to be like a rough kid version that they're doing themselves. And I thought, well, this will be fun. I'll do this really loose kind of kid style and everything. This will be easy. And that was dumb and ignorant of me. I should have known. Later, everyone was going to say, this isn't on model. So of course that's the way it went. And deep inside I knew it would, but you gotta, any big job, you have to trick yourself. What's the saying? It's like, we didn't do this because it was easy. We did it because we thought it would be easy. It's like, that's
exactly.
why we went to the moon. We thought it would be a lot easier to pull off. And anyway, so I had to actually learn how to draw everybody. And I finally found like some good reference. I still do a very like a rough kind of ink and color sort of look to it or whatever to kind of keep the energy way up and everything. And I did the lettering. So it's my sloppier letter. I can do neater lettering than that, but I'm trying to get it to feel like their journal. So, yeah. And then, so I did some complete pages to show them how it would look. And they gave me notes until we finally got it to a compromise that everybody liked. And then I plowed on through and it took a while to get through 200 pages, but I'm really proud of it. And I think we got it done in time for Stitch Day this summer, which is 626. Because
perfect.
He's Experiment 626 in the movie. And I'm probably going to do another one now because it's now I already know how to draw them. It's like, well, it was fun doing stuff like the one before with the shadow puppets. I tried to do a back and forth between. We have some big adventures where they do stuff like meet Yetis and see a volcano that's exploding and stuff. And then we have some very down to earth sort of things like they're doing shadow puppets, but Stitch, because he's a little alien, can do very convoluted things that you can't really do. And
so I'm just
that one back there is Nani's dress rips. And that sounds more exciting than the way it is in the book.
Well, listen, this is an adult show.
Yeah, I found out there's a huge Nani fan base on the internet.
Oh.
I
didn't have to find out.
And that may be imagine. That may be as close as you want to get to them too.
Yeah. I'll keep the internet between us. It's like, so yeah, in that part of the story, Nani rips a dress and like yells like, "Oh no, I got to go to a party." So, and then it always turns into Lilo's perspective, but like in Lilo's like, this is a big deal. Her sister's really upset. And they're trying to figure out how much does a new dress cost? Like $1,000, $20,000? We don't know. What's the banana? And so they go out and start busking and trying to figure out how to solve the dress problem. And that ends up turning into it rains on them. And then they see a rainbow. And then Lilo remembers the whole thing that at the end of a rainbow, leprechauns have a pot of gold.
Right.
I was trying to get into things as a kid that kind of occupied my head all the time. I was always thinking about, it's like, and then anytime if you took off running towards the end of the rainbow, you didn't realize you're never going to reach it. But that's what they tried to do.
Yeah, of course. There's so much stuff that as kids you think about and we spend a lot of time worrying about or whatever. And then you grow up and you're like, there's no quicksand.
Yeah. Quicksand is a huge one. Bigfoot, just all these things that you were sure were a real challenge you were going to be facing in life.
Well, but the beauty of being a kid is when you figure it out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You solve that crisis. Oh, I'm never going to get to the end of that rainbow. That's an educational experience. In this case, it's kind of pithy, but it is, and that is how we learn. And that makes it perfect for storytelling because we can reach back into everybody's childhood memories. Every child has had some sort of experience, probably a million of them, that was just like that. And we can all relate to it.
And I was trying very much like to remember things that occupied all my brain power as a kid, and then channel as much Carl Barks and John Stanley as I humanly could. Because like you're not going to do better gag stuff than like Marge's Little Lulu. Like that's just such great material. And then for the adventure parts, of course, nothing's ever surpassed the duck stories. It's just the best stuff. Like they travel all over the planet. They discover every lost city there is. They take their woodchuck's guide, that sort of thing. So it's pretty. All my influences are super easy to spot when you're reading these things.
I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I'm looking forward to it. It comes out in 2 weeks. From Dynamite, so wherever you're
Wow,
get your
really?
books. Yeah, May 13th.
I just uploaded those files. That's good.
It says May 13th.
It always scares me to find out how close I was. Like, it's like you guys were still asking for corrections right up to the last second, but that's good.
Yep. And then there's
movies are made the same way.
Yeah.
They're doing reshoots on the Avengers movie that'll be out in October or something. They're finessing Supergirl, which will be out in about 20 minutes. It happens right up to deadline. I've worked on television shows that were being worked on the day they were being broadcast.
Yeah.
Not a lot. but but
they don't last very long. Somebody's getting fired for that.
No, it's got to literally be taken removed from your hand, and you don't really know until it's printed or aired. Like,
right.
Okay, I'm done. Then you can go. I'm pretty sure I'm done now because I just saw it. So they can't make me do any more. It must be done. And I'm just as bad. Every time anyone had a correction for me, and it would usually just be a small thing like, oh, your lettering here is kind of unclear or something. If I open the page back up, I was going to start fixing other things they didn't ask for. And I did that constantly. And I'm like, well, this could be better. So it's like, I started to wonder, like, are they just tricking me into opening the pages again? Because they know they'll get another pass no matter what. Because you can't not do it.
Dick Giordano had a story about that sort of thing. When asked why he didn't kind of fix somebody's pencils before he inked them, something that was really wrong, Dick said, well, that's a no-win situation, because when you start to fix something that's wrong, you wind up having to fix things that are now wrong because you fixed the stuff that was wrong. And that goes all the way back to the beginning of the story. You're going to wind up just redrawing the story on your own, and you don't have time for that, and also they're not paying you for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, every once in a while you'll fix something where you don't have to do a ton of retro work, but it's a problem. And this is a collaborative medium. So if you're the last guy in the food chain, the poor color artist who gets stuck with all of the late shit, all you can do is call your editor and complain. That's it.
Yeah. I always assumed like what he would spend his time fixing were things that were, oh, this is a continuity error that directly we can see as a mistake in the story or something like that, but not just simply, oh, this could be a little better. Of course he wouldn't do that. And he did. Yeah. Dick, I don't remember him having a lot of enemies. So, he knew how to stay on everybody's good side. And
he was basically the anti-Vinnie Coletta.
He didn't just erase stuff because he didn't want to ink it or anything like that. He sent me my first rejection letter when I was a teenager.
Dick did?
Yeah, I was so excited. Awesome. I was like, I sent some crappy thing. Actually, I think I had seen ad for Vigilante coming up. And I didn't know what it was. I just thought it looked cool. So I did some pages and then sent them in. Yeah, it looks like a high school kid who could draw maybe one good thing, sending in some stuff or whatever. And he sent me a very standard, like, yeah, it's not ready for this at this time. But I was so excited because it was on that DC letterhead where when you held it up, you know, you see the Justice League standing on each other's shoulders all the way down through the paper. It was a really neat printing job.
It was amazing. It was very expensive.
It must have been
really.
And I was there.
No, I think
when they changed over to that letterhead, they'd worked out the whole National Periodicals thing and changed it to DC Ink. And somebody from Warner Publishing, which was running DC that week, came down and just screamed his lungs out. Jeanette Kahn, who's the publisher and was responsible for that, wasn't there. So the guy was screaming into the wind, and I'm really glad because I don't think he would have made it back to his own office alive if Jeanette had been there. It was incredibly expensive.
So you just about the budget.
For letterhead.
But they had it for, so this was in the 70s they got it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And they had it for a long time.
They had it for a really long time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Also on our business cards, we would have different characters on our business cards. It was cool.
That's great. No,
the only thing,
even as a kid who knew nothing, I could tell it was expensive. I was like, well, this is kind of like an optical illusion. This is really cool. And
it was fun, and it served its purpose because I don't want to say everybody thought it was cool, but so many people did, and there are so many of those old letters written by everybody who ever worked for DC during that long period of time that people have collected.
Yeah,
they've held on to it because it's so cool.
I need to go. I'm going to prize. I'm going to dig mine out and scan it because I should have done that years ago, but yeah, because you're not going to throw away something like that. Like if it had been just a printed out little card from the North Pole, Santa says nothing this year or whatever. Yeah, you would have tossed that. But this thing is like, oh, this is beautiful. Like, I'm trying to figure out who drew it and everything.
Garcia Lopez?
I don't think so. I don't think it was Lopez.
No, boy, it was a long time ago.
It might have been Dick.
It might have been Dick.
Could have been.
It kind of looks like him or this is me just trying to remember it.
He was at continuity.
It was like maybe him or Ross Andrew or somebody.
Not at that point. He was at DC by then.
Okay.
Oh, he was.
Dick. Yeah. I know because when I started working for DC, the job I was originally offered was Dick's old job at Continuity.
Oh.
And it wasn't offered to me by Neil Adams. It was offered to me by Jeanette Kahn, who was the publisher at DC.
Yeah.
So I fly out to New York. I had no plans on working for Continuity because it just didn't interest me. It wasn't as creative a job as I would have enjoyed. But, I get a tour of DC with the publisher. I'm 26 years old. I've been a fanboy since I was 2. And I'm having lunch with Neil Adams, who I'd met several times before. But Neil didn't show up for lunch. I flew out from Chicago, and this sucker couldn't make it up to the 51 Club at which was 3 blocks north of Continuity. Yeah. All right. I wasn't mad about that because Jeanette and I had a 3-hour conversation about comics. And in 1976, it scared the businessmen who were around us because Jeanette and I both were very passionate about it. And for 3 hours, we could offend a lot of people who thought that comics really were just for kids anymore. And we scared them, which was great. So I got back on the plane. I flew home. I had a great day. I had everything I had expected. And then I get a call from Jeanette the next morning saying, "Listen, I don't want you to take that job at Continuity." And I was trying to figure out a polite way of saying I wasn't planning on doing that anyway. But Jeanette said, No, I want you to work for me." Hello.
So that worked out about as good as it possibly could have.
I was, as they say in the radio business, I was between radio stations, which is what you mostly are in those days. If you're in the, because they changed format about every 20 minutes, and it came at a great time for me. But I wouldn't have done it for Continuity because it wasn't a creative job.
Yeah, you're doing ad stuff. And it's so great that Neil didn't show up because he would have dominated that lunch. And
Oh yeah.
you wouldn't have got a word in. And
No.
Yeah.
No.
So this worked out about as great as possible. Where'd you first live when you moved to New York?
In New York, I
everybody
lived. That's true. Wow, you got a good memory. On the Upper West Side,
Okay.
near Al Milgram and David Michelini and Archie Goodwin and Mike Flesher. I'm leaving a few people out. Oh, Walt Simonson.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
lived up there.
Yeah, it was a great neighborhood.
Then everybody
Oh,
That is
man.
a great
Jeanette's
neighborhood.
house.
Yeah, it was terrific. I couldn't have picked a better place.
So that's when Walt and Howard would have been in their studio, right?
This was before that.
It was
It
before
is?
that.
Okay.
It was they were in the studio in the early 80s. And
Right.
there was a bunch of movement too. Everybody wasn't there at the same time. Like,
well,
by
no,
the
there was
time-
one rotating slot in that studio. Jim
Right.
Starlin had it, I think, first, but who knows?
Mhm.
And
But Frank Miller and Howard and Lynn Varley and Walter Simonson, and the amount of talent and power in that building, because Howard and I were working on American flags, so I'd go out to New York and deal with that all the time. Mostly Frank and I would sit there in the back for hours and hours talking about Zatoichi movies, and which was great because nobody had heard about them at that point in time.
Mhm.
But it was in the old garment district,
Yeah.
which is where Howard still belongs to this day.
Not in
so,
Ventura.
no, and so do I.
He knows that.
Yeah.
He knows that. And then but Frank left, and is that when Bill took that spot? I think.
I don't
I
remember.
think that's how it worked.
I guess that's why
Because
Hell's
there was
Kitchen
another-
did so much in comics. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was another studio. Other people who couldn't get into Howard's studio, they had the office next door, so the overlap was confusing and bewildering, but great fun.
Uh-huh.
Great fun. No place to
sure.
eat around there. Anyway,
Good. I
There
love
is
thinking
now.
of you guys. I
There
love
is
thinking
now.
of you guys going and catching the subway together and stuff. That's great.
Yeah. We
Um,
were kids, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It really was.
So the Stitch book comes out in this next month. The following month, there's a Lilo and Stitch anthology-ish series. Like everybody gets a different shot at it. Is that how that's working? Because you're doing one issue that comes out in June.
Oh, I think they're probably printing part of my book, like one of the
Okay,
sections.
because there's a series of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So you're unaware of this?
Yeah.
That's okay. It's
Yeah,
literally-
depending on anybody tell me anything, man, it's just like
is it that or is it you don't remember? I mean, come on.
it's
It's
I'm
why
always
people
finding out
appear
about the
here.
publication at the last second.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
why people appear on the SquadCast, is to find out what they're doing.
Yeah,
So
that
there's
was great.
three.
Once you
There's
put up all the
three.
comics, I was like, oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
It's like thanks for finding that.
There's 3 issues of Lilo and Stitch 626. Issue 1 is a Daniel Kibblesmith piece.
Okay.
I don't
That
know if it
makes
was
sense.
somewhere else. It was 32 pages, and then issue 2 is by Jeff Parker and also with Edwin Gallman.
Okay.
You're the writer, not artist.
Oh, all right. Good.
All right, and with the Paulina Ganuccio cover, which is very nice.
I predict
and
it's
then-
going to be a different writer, but I'm going to go find out as soon as I get off the.
And then, there's another issue comes out in July that Chuck Brown and Moana McAdams are writing.
Okay. Maybe
So
they'll
anyway,
move
there's
that
more
one up
Lilo and
give me
Stitch.
a chance to write my story that I didn't know about. But
That's good.
Moana was briefly working with us on this book,
Oh yeah.
and then things got moved around, and then like I had to come up with a bunch of new stories or something like that. But that really is her name, and it's pretty cool. She was very helpful.
It's a great name. I love it.
Yeah. She knows a ton of Hawaiian culture. I wish, the saddest thing for me is like one of our past studio mates, Vince Kakua, Hawaiian American artist. Of course, it's American. It's already Hawaii, but he's a real Hawaiian, and he passed during COVID, and it's like the whole time I'm working on it, I'm thinking, man, it's like one, I could have just bugged him nonstop for help. But also he would have really enjoyed it. And I hated that he couldn't be around while I was working on that. And maybe I could have suckered him into drawing something too. It's like, and I've still never been to Hawaii. Drives me nuts. I really want to go.
I think that you should go.
I think I should go too. In the winter.
I mean, there are cons there. You can get somebody to get you over there.
There is some big show coming up.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Hawaii or North Dakota. Those are the only 2 states I've never been to.
I don't need to go to North Dakota.
Well, I got an Abby Hoffman story, but it'll wait.
We can save that for next week.
Yeah, yeah, really, it'll wait. But if I could drive to North Dakota, and I think I can, I might still make it. Hawaii, well, I live in Connecticut, so if I lured the car from here and drove nonstop to the coast, slammed on the brakes, maybe I'd make it to Hawaii.
Yeah, if you really get a running start, get over the Rockies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's downhill from there. So.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, we have a bit in the book where they break out Dr. Jumba's old spaceship, and because they've got to get around the planet to find one of their friends, and then I get to draw some other parts of the world. 90% of it's set in Hawaii, but then suddenly we go to the Himalayas so we can meet Yeti, and because why not? So we do get a little bit of stuff like that. And Stitch also has a levitating surfboard, so he can surf without drowning because Stitch weighs too much. And it's a point in the movie, like he falls in the water. He's trapped on the island, Kauai, and he can't go anywhere. So it's kind of just this frustrating little thing for him. And then he makes his friend with this girl who's a kindred spirit, and starts to actually feel at home there. It's a really good movie if you haven't watched it. And I did see the live action version last year when I was on a flight, because whenever I'm on a flight, that's when I watch that kind of stuff, like on a little tiny screen like that. And they did a good job, but it's like you still got to see the original one. It's the best.
No, I want to end this podcast and go watch it, to be honest with you.
You've got the Disney Channel.
I mean, I have it. I've seen it. I saw it when it came out. I had kids then. I had 2 kids then. One's it's older than one of my kids, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, mine too. In fact, I was thinking like, no, wait a second, my daughter was a baby. Like I'm trying to remember.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a question for you. While I was doing this thing, there's so much work for hire stuff that you've done where you are given an assignment or given an opportunity to pitch for something. How does that work for you? Or how do you want it to work for you? Because I'm sure it probably works multiple ways. But like, are you if you're offered the opportunity to pitch something, do you come with that, or do you prefer for somebody to say, "Hey, here's the store. Here's what I want. Here's the character I want you to work on. This is a general idea about what you want to do," or do you prefer to come at it and say, "Okay, character, this is what I want to do"?
Well, I get both. Everybody does. And I do kind of like when people give me parameters of like, here's what we're hoping for. And then
Sure.
if I don't feel that, I don't try to force it, because
Right.
no one's going to do their best. No one's going to be happy. And that's tough because as a freelancer, you never want to turn anything down.
No.
But I will say, I'm sorry, my brain's not coming on for this, and I'll bow out. But usually once somebody gives me the little challenge of, good editors, of course, can trick you into something when you didn't plan on doing it at all. And just by, well, if you're going to be a coward or something like, just finding, finding a way to motivate you, just to,
Jeff, we do that on purpose.
I know you do it on purpose. And that's my favorite editor trick, is the thing of like, when you've already said, nah, I don't think I can do that. And then they think about it out loud until, knowing full well you're going to start problem solving, and you go, well, it would probably work if you did this. And then once you start going down that path, next thing you know, you're brainstorming, and you're me too. And the next thing you know, you're going, okay, I've got an idea for this thing. But sometimes people will, I'm going to try not insult the entire industry here, but sometimes people will call you up and they'll say like, we're thinking about doing a new run with this character. Do you have any ideas? And very often when that comes up, you may realize that you are a part of a bake-off,
Right.
and
Right.
it's not great, really. It's one, you're probably running against some of your friends, and everyone's putting in their spare time to, they're freeing up time to come up with something that could end up being a year or two or something worth of work. And, and usually you're not
But it's a
compensated.
certain amount of work that you may never have had a shot at.
Yeah. And
you're going to spend doing it.
Yeah. And they're going to, and they've asked for a character you liked and everything. And then you don't know how many people you're up against. So it's like, it's tough. Like, I usually want to take a week to do those sort of things, because I'm not going to come up with something great that night. Sometimes you get lucky. But usually you need a few days of tossing around ideas before you break through that and get to the good stuff. And so you've got to actually put real time into it. And then it kind of is like, oh, we decided not to go with yours. And then you see the other thing on the shelf later, and it's like, it was a bake-off. Fantastic. If you had told me, I might not have done it,
Right.
It's
I'll tell you a worse situation.
I know there's worse situations, but
yeah, and there always are. Mort Weisinger, the Superman editor.
Oh, you already won because it's a Mort Weisinger.
That's it. Story. That's it. Everybody knows now. He would savage writers. He would rip up their scripts in front of them, and he was just a god awful asshole.
Yeah,
and not well liked, but he was doing Superman, the TV show too. So writers would come in, they'd pitch him a story, and then he would say, "No, don't do that. That sucks. Do this," and he'd give him a story. That story he gave him was a story that the previous writer pitched.
Yeah.
And so on and so on. So he was doing it just to be a prick. It's not like he said, "Oh, wow, that was a good idea. I'm going to use that because it's such a good idea. I have to. I'll give it to this guy." No, he was just being a prick.
You got to stay in practice, Mike. You don't want to lose your edge. Especially
No, I know that. Oh, man. I met Mort after all of that, which is about the same time I met Carmine, after he was publisher and all that. So it was quite an experience because he was not a prick. He was a very, very old and incredibly wealthy man. So I got to ask, I had him in my office for like 2 hours. And I got to ask him a bunch of fanboy questions, because he didn't want to talk about anything else. Because if I asked him questions like, "Well, why did you screw this guy over so badly?" the conversation probably would have ended there.
Sure.
Or it would have gotten really ugly, and I would have felt terrible about whatever it is that he would have done or said in response. So it was fine.
So you didn't say like, "Why'd you make so many fat jokes in Superman and Jimmy Olsen all the time?"
Oh my God, yeah. Well, none of those books would be printed today. None of those stories would be printed today.
They might.
When Mort died,
edition, the compact edition.
Nope. When Mort died, Jim Shooter, who was one of his assistants early on, called me up and asked me for the funeral information. And I thought, well, that was interesting because not a lot of freelancers who had worked for Mort did that.
That was his first boss.
And yes, and Nelson Bridwell was very upset, and that bothered me because Mort used to call Nelson Monkey Boy, and that was the nicest thing he called him. And he called him a lot of bad things.
Looking through the books, you can read between the lines. You can tell how much just monstrous a treatment Nelson Bridwell got.
Oh my God! Yes,
he must have just been terribly whipped.
It's amazing. He collected pornography. He collected Shakespeare. He collected comic books. I'm glad he didn't collect guns.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just that simple. So we're all standing around in Denny O'Neill's office, telling Mort Weisinger stories, having a swell time while they were burying Mort someplace else. And Bob Haney, great guy.
Yeah.
Just one of the more wonderful human beings I've ever met. He comes into the office and he's listening and stuff. And he goes, "Oh, excuse me, I just got here, but forgive me, but did Mort die?" And I felt I was standing next to him, and he and I were close, so I felt terrible. And I said, "Oh yeah, geez, I'm sorry you had to hear about it this way," because we were all making fun of Mort. But yeah, he died a couple of days ago. His funeral's going on right now, and Bob just gave that wistful look that I give a lot right now about how another old timer has died, and he goes, "I never liked that son of a bitch." God, that was good. Beautiful. That was a beautiful moment.
I thought it was going to be that he turned it into the joke of, "I know, I just wanted to hear it again," or something.
Why am I not there? I want to see him buried.
That, by the way, is always one of the points where you always have to see people having the same discussion about Marvel and DC in the 60s. And everyone talks about how that's where Marvel starts eating DC's lunch and becomes Marvel, the big phenomena and everything. And I always blame it on Mort Weisinger. Even though I actually enjoy a lot of the weirdness that came out of Mort's Strange Assignment style or whatever, but the fact is he would just keep it all on here, just nothing that continued. It's just all about, why is this thing happening on the cover that's happening in the story? How come Superman's dressed like a clown? Why is Jimmy mad at him again? That sort of thing. And and that's when Marvel went to cutting its creators loose to like tell long form stories, and that's what the readers wanted. It's very simple. Like, oh, Galactus is here, and he's still here the next issue because this is a big deal, and things like that. And meanwhile, you're over here with more done in ones from DC all the time. And to me, it's like, no, there's no difference between the types of heroes. They're all still these godlike things and follow a lot of classic structure and everything. It's just that they get to tell long stories, and nobody at DC was allowed to do it yet until the 70s.
Here's the crime of it. DC, even in the 70s, did not care to admit to themselves that their audience was much older than
you have to face up to how old the audience is,
right, and how intelligent they may be. And these folks from the 40s and 50s never caught on, which is very, very sad. But if you compare the Superman stories from the Superman comic books to their, I want to say adaptations, but some of them came first, to those same stories being done in the Superman newspaper strip, that was written for an older audience, particularly the dailies. And the stories were more complicated, they were more interesting, they were much more involved. There was a little sense of continuity, but if you had the bad guy in a story in a daily newspaper strip, he'd be there for 13 weeks. So that's like a continued story. It is a continued story. So they were already doing the stories that they could have and should have been doing for their audience when they refused to accept that audience. Bob, should I tell them the Murray Boltinoff story?
Yes, you should.
Murray was a great guy. I really loved him, but he was in comics since 1803. I think he invented the staple. He was there forever. Before that, he was a journalist from my hometown. I had that experience, so we had a lot in common. We got along great. One day, he and I are having a conversation, and I was talking about, he couldn't understand why people were buying Marvel comics. This is 1977, 1976. Couldn't understand it. And I said, well, that's where our readers are. They want more energy. They want more continuity, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, they shouldn't do that. It's just a fad. And I said, this is 1976 now. And I said, Marvel Comics is a fad. And he says, yeah, it's just a fad. And I said, you mean like rock and roll is a fad? And he says, yes, exactly.
Oh.
That says it all. And I love the man. I am not putting the man down. But he gave me something to be aware of as I aged, which is keep your ear to the rail, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, you went for the insightful quote right there. Like you knew exactly like, you're kind of seeing this from a long view, but too long.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Rock and roll had been around for almost 25 years when he said that. So.
Yeah. And was showing no signs of stopping at that point.
No.
Yeah, and I still feel like I would love to have seen what DC would have done, like without somebody who wants to clock out and go play golf at the end of the week or whatever, and just like, and lets people like, okay, I'll actually read your long stories and we'll go with it. And because I mean, incredible talent. You had like Bruno Premiani drawing. And, Ramona Fraden, just
Nick Cardy,
incredible artists,
Yes.
Nick and of
Cardy.
Course, Kirk Swan.
These are conversations I've had, Jeff. Like, so, like, I wasn't there, but like, so I have reread almost all of the Teen Titans, the original volumes, right? And so it is wacky. The vernacular that they're using. And I said to Mike, I said, did did kids really talk like this then? But Bob Haney was writing it, and the understanding is that Bob was never a teenager, and he just did what he thought.
Whereas that may be true, Bob was a consummate professional.
Oh,
as you'd imagine. Stuff. And I'm sure he was following his editor's worldview in that, because that's what the job was. You do what you're being paid to do.
Well,
for me, is
world at that point, it's
Bob
has Batman walking outside. Batman digs this day. It's like it's like he's just going what goes on in his head, and like you just appreciate the beautiful Nick Cardy art. It's
exactly
amazing. But Bob was living in an artistic community at the time, like around Woodstock, the real city of Woodstock, not the concert. And there were all these artsy people who were around him, and he had television. He had radio. He probably had a better understanding of the world around him. So I like to think that he was just doing his job, But I do know that I had never met, I was that same exact age at that time for the Teen Titans. I had never met a kid who spoke, acted, thought, or dressed like that. Ever.
Now when I look at it, I think of it more as like he's kind of doing what Sondheim's job was when he was brought in on West Side Story as the kid. It's like, okay, you're actually the age of these characters, like give us some lingo, but not really, because we don't want to date it. So they just sort of make up a fake kid talk, that it's more about the music of the thing. And I'm not saying that because West Side Story. I just mean it's the music of the feel and the vibe, or whatever you want to call it, and not try to get it. Though Bob would dip into lingo every now and then. Usually when people do it, it dates a story horribly.
Yeah.
Like,
I terrible.
Yeah, I always remember this one thing where Batman makes a reference to Big Brother and the holding company, and Robin says, "Wow, Bruce has been getting an earful of my Janice records," and it's like, And as a kid, I was like, and I go run in my mind, "Who's Janice?" Like, it took forever for somebody to explain Janis Joplin to me or whatever, So I was like, "Okay, all right."
We did that a lot in the 90s.
It's that woman who screams, right?
Here's an aside for you. Janis Joplin appeared in the Epstein files.
I wasn't expecting that when I got on the SquadCast today.
Well, I know nobody is, because they indexed it by name, and somebody was just referring to Janis Joplin for some reason. It's not like she was on the island. I'm not sure
Certainly
that
not.
island.
She was long gone by then.
She was long gone by then, But there she is. So now, whenever somebody says, "Well, that person's named in the Epstein files," I said, "So what? So is Janis Joplin. What's your point?"
There's tons of people. I want to just. We got a couple more minutes, so I want to talk about this.
Okay.
This is a conversation that kind of came up, and kind of in the with Jerry Conway passing, right? The concept of creator ownership and credit is a topic we always talk about, right? Something that always coming up. And one of the things we didn't mention earlier about Jerry was he had some concerns about getting paid for the translation of characters that he clearly created.
Werewolf by Night. Let's see. I don't know why that one jumped in my head.
Which one?
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night.
Well, so I'll tell you.
And then Michael Giacchino did the the Marvel movie a few years ago.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
like
that I don't know that he's gonna get, but like his like Power Girl, right? So Power Girl,
Right.
he has an issue with, and because you can't get Power Girl because it's a I don't know, because it's derivative, and then he didn't get paid for
it's derivative of Power Man.
well, he didn't get paid for Felicity Smoke in Arrow. He was upset about that.
Oh.
He should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
He should have been. Yeah.
Or because of something, and then he didn't get paid for Killer Frost because the character that he created was a different name than the Killer Frost that was there. So there's a bunch of stuff with that, but
it took
it's
20
a
years.
thing.
Bella 20 years to get paid for Black Lightning. The reason why he hadn't been was because there were two previous Black Lightnings, one of which was a Western character, both of which were created by Bob Kanigher, and Kanigher's superhero Black Lightning has the reputation of it was never printed, of being just the most horribly racist, bigoted in a non-offensive wrapping story, a story that was 22 pages full of this man does not have a clue. This man,
yeah,
that's Kanigher,
Well,
the man who turned Lois Lane black. Remember, she was black for an issue. Yeah, that was great.
I'm Curious Black. Yeah,
and then
using a porn movie title.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
But yeah, well, I mean, Jerry, I was thinking when just thinking about him yesterday and how so many times I'd be watching a cartoon or a TV show or something, and then I just keep finding his name. Like, it's like, is there anything he didn't work on? He's just everywhere, and it was always fun to see his name pop up. And it was always great that he would. I love that he would get online. Like occasionally I'd get to just chat with him on one of the social media or whatever. And it's like, I didn't want to abuse it, but I was always like, it always made me happy. Like, hey, Jerry said something nice, or whatever.
Yeah. You look at the credits of just about any Marvel TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do the special thanks bit, which I always freeze frame and stuff, because I'm a child. Jerry's name is almost always there.
Right.
As are a couple of others. I mean, Roy's name is almost always there. Stan's name is definitely always there. And it's usually kind of appropriate. You might argue why wasn't this person included, but the people that are up there pretty much deserve to be up there. And Jerry is always there. Always listened. Because he always made a contribution to all of the characters that were around at that time, because that's how Marvel was.
I just can't believe how good he was, how young he was starting out. Like,
well, yeah. Then
to be writing some of that stuff, and he's like not 20. It's amazing.
So but he's older than Shooter.
He was.
That's
older
true.
Than Shooter. There's somebody.
I think I read he had a novel when he was 16 that was printed.
Oh, I don't know if he was 16, but
it was something extremely young or what. Okay, I'm sorry, Bob. I keep getting
there's someone in our industry, and I'm not going to name them tonight, but who had a lifelong, tongue in cheek, but a lifelong grudge to the 21-year-old kid who they let kill the love of Spider-Man's life. But he was 21 when he killed Gwen Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem? I mean, I understand not liking the idea that Gwen.
This person is very upset that it never should have happened. That should never have happened, and that it turned him off of Spider-Man forever.
Really? Because it's Marvel Comics. Nobody dies forever.
But he was 19. But this person was a kid in 1970, whenever that happened, or whatever it was. And,
I get.
Everybody has their thing.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But part of it came up with a conversation I had this past weekend at the con I was at. We're talking about some stuff that's never been collected or has barely been collected, and and you wonder why that is, because it was decent stuff. I was sitting next to Howard Simpson, and I'm like, there's never been a collection of Young All-Stars. And I think it's because of Roy.
Oh, that sounds right. Yeah.
Why would
I don't know, but there's also never been a collection of All-Star Squadron. There was one collection of one part of Infinity Inc.
Because I don't think they know how to sell it. They sell it at Justice Society because it has nothing to do with any of the Justice Society stuff that has happened in the last couple of decades. I agree. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not. It may very well be that may very well be true, but it just sort of sticks out. There's still a lot of good stuff, both at DC and Marvel, even Archie, that has not been reprinted, and I think that's great. You know,
I mean,
there's something to look forward to. Look! I just got this here book.
I did pick up like this weekend.
Yeah, I know. I picked this up because I went to my mailbox today. This is Fantagraphics book of Barry Windsor Smith's non-Conan Marvel work. And you get to see him evolve as an artist, and some of the stuff is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, none of it sucks, but you know, young to older, and it's beautiful, beautiful stuff. And there's still stuff of his that they can print. You know, so fine.
Fantagraphics is doing a nice job with those books.
Well, yes. I'm hoping that someday Gary buys Marvel.
From
Weirder
Disney or just buys Marvel?
I wouldn't be surprised at anything now.
Yeah, really. Well, as soon as those kids stop working on his boat.
So I need to so one of the things I do is there's a site called League of Comic Geeks. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay, you are familiar with it? Are you familiar with the fact that this is there?
What is it? American comic book writer?
No. This picture. This is your picture.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was reading
This is the picture of you. For every book that you show up in, this shows up.
Yeah, I better put a new picture up then.
I mean, I think you should talk to them. It's because you look scared. Where?
and I'm pretty sure I'm doing a selfie there. So it's like, who knows what I'm doing? Like, I'm probably just, the light went off. It scared me, or something like that.
It's
also, I can't stand those frames. Like they're too squat. I don't wear frames like that anymore. I wear ones more like these most of the time. So I need to. Okay, I'll get a new picture taken, and you can help me proliferate it.
I don't know how to do that. These things are difficult. You know, I've had plenty of friends who go through a lot of tribulations trying to get their Wikipedia photo changed.
Yeah, that's not easy.
That is not easy, because you'll go ahead and you'll say like, "Hey, I'm me. Here, use this," and then somebody say, "No, not you're not you."
No, I'm an expert on you. We're not putting that up. And it's cryptic by nature, because they don't want people bullying their way in and changing entries all the time. And yeah, that's always kind of funny.
Every once in a while, you'll be sitting at a convention, and I'm speaking for all three of us here because I'll bet it's happened to the two of you, and a fan, a very energetic fan who helps pay our rent, will go to a creator of a character and say, "I read that last issue. He wouldn't do that." And the creator is saying, "Well, I created this guy, and
I'm telling you, he would." Yeah.
And I had that in mind from day one. And every time I see that, and I've seen it maybe a half dozen times,
Yeah.
if not more, over my career. I keep on thinking, man, if only Steve Ditko were here.
I think that anyway, just for the heck of it.
Yeah, really. You and me both. You and me both, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I haven't had too many people do that sort of thing to me. Like they'll question me on a licensed character I don't own, but usually when it's my original stuff, people give me a little benefit of the doubt that I might know what this character no one else would do. But yeah, I have seen people. I've seen some awkward situations with fans going up to creators and everything, and I usually run away. It's just like,
my favorite thing happened at a convention in South Bend, Indiana. I will not say who this happened to because that would be rude, but people were lined up for like an hour waiting for this guy to show up at the convention. He was late, and okay, fine. I'm sitting next to where he was supposed to be. So, I'm entertaining his audience while dealing with mine. And finally, the guy shows up and he starts talking with everybody and he gets into conversations, which is what you're supposed to do.
right.
And the guy who's been standing there at the head of the line the longest finally leaves with the autograph and whatever. And he turns to me and whispers, "What an asshole." And I'm thinking, yes. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. But I can't just say that, so I kind of go,
Just
just
give him a little wink or something like.
Yeah.
Well, you got to do that not on the record acknowledgement. Yeah,
that's right. We don't know how to act in public because we spend our lives in a locked room without lights or food or anything. Just
exactly.
Computers and a drawing board and stuff. And okay, we do what we can.
That's why I'm in a studio now, because like right now I'm in the Helioscope studio in Portland.
Right.
And
cool.
And it's again the reason we try to drag everybody out and get people to at least come in and just spend a little time, even if they don't become permanent members, is just because everybody stays in their basement way too much.
That's right. Absolutely.
You look on the background of these things, and as soon as you see one of those short little windows up high, that person's in their basement.
That's right.
And that's where they've been resigned. Right. So
that's where they've been for years.
Yeah. So I can give you a quick tour. Let's see.
Awesome.
I try to get down here.
Hang on.
Whoa.
Make it bigger.
Okay, next to me is Colleen Coover, but she's left nothing out to indicate that. That's where Steve Lieber sits all day. He took off early for something. Let's see. This section, right here in the middle. This is a weird way to show this. We've got this floater section that's for our guests. Like,
that's awesome.
So people can set up. We've got some Cintiqs. People usually bring their own stuff to work on anyway. So at some point, we're probably going to get rid of those Cintiqs. There's where Dylan McCona sits. Let's see. Over here is where Erica Moen, she was just here and snuck out when I started the SquadCast. We're in this cool room. Like if you look up.
I see the lights.
Yeah, it's these tall things. And see, so you can see more of the room over here. We got our lunch area where we spend a whole lot of time. Got a espresso machine back there. That's extremely important. We got a big TV that we've started doing this. How have you not seen this movie nights? We got a bunch of
that's fantastic.
A bunch of just drawing tables set up that like our mentees work at and guests. And over here we've been calling this kind of analog alley, where more people who do traditional sort of stuff and actually draw with pencils and things like that work. Here's Mark Mulchan's thing, and there's a painting he did. It's amazing. There's a really cool Bernie Wrightson print that he keeps up for inspiration. So yeah, you can see the room. This used to be a brewery at one point. Yeah, it's a really cool place. It's very unbasement like. So
is that a rocket ship I see in the background?
let's see, rocket ship.
To your left. To your left. Yeah, on top of that case, right on the next.
Where's the rocket?
It doesn't matter. It probably doesn't. It probably doesn't exist. That's why I asked if it was one.
But
if you can't see it, it ain't a rocket.
there's a Black Bolt black light poster. So
Oh, that's cool.
oh, and this cool little station artist Matthew Bogart set up for us, where sometimes you'll see like a little YouTube video one of us will do, and everybody will come over here and work on a drawing and just record it right here.
That's awesome.
Right.
And
Is that
yeah,
is that a Steam Deck? The little control thing on that table?
yeah, I think so. And
I love those puppies.
yeah, it is.
Also,
and,
the spinner rack.
and here's my spinner rack,
Yeah.
I love
the
it.
classic.
I'm very jealous.
Yeah, so you got like Ernie Richie Rich, and Ross Andrews Spidey, generic Archie, and Garcia Lopez Superman. So this was sitting in the back of a comic shop, Fanboy Comics in Wilmington, North Carolina. And when I was out there like 20 years ago, and as I was going out to my truck, I had my pickup truck with me because I was back there for a while, and I had to come back out here. And I saw that laying in the weeds, and they went, "Yeah, you can have it if you want it." I'm like, "Yeah," and I just I dragged that spinner rack back, and it sat in webs in my garage forever. And then finally, like last year, I got it out and sanded all the rust off of it, and painted it, and found a bearing so it would spin again, and brought it in. And immediately, it was full of everybody's comics, So
As it should be.
They just grow. They just grow. Next to you, where you're to the map on your right, there's a bookcase.
oh yeah,
Is that
yeah,
the Terry and the Pirates books that I see?
oh yeah, it's all the Terrys. Well,
Classic.
Well, now I need to get the ones that Clover Press has been doing.
Yeah.
I have them. They are fabulous. Terry
Yeah.
the Pirates.
Got some Rip Kirby. Got all
Terry
kinds
is
of good
arguably the best written thing ever done with pictures.
Oh God, yeah.
That's it.
No, yeah, we're in agreement. It's unequaled. It's so good, and when Noel
Right.
Sickles was working with him,
Yeah.
it's just amazing stuff, and it's so. And I don't mean to say cinematic, like a comic is good, because really Kniff was inventing stuff they weren't even doing in movies yet, and then they're
Right.
looking at it.
Yeah, he also invented the atom bomb.
He probably did. He could.
No,
Yeah,
he did a story about a bomb in Terry that
Yeah.
was so like what they were working on. That
Did he get investigated?
He got investigated. He got
Oh,
visited by OSS, FBI. Yeah, he was real popular.
Well, he did so much research. He just really researched everything he could, and no one ever talks about Sickles doing it, but Sickles obviously did do a ton of research because his stuff is so convincing. You
look at his illustration work, and I do, and I gasp. All the air comes out of my body, which isn't pretty at all. But
it's beautiful.
That's how brilliant it is. Yes, it's absolutely beautiful.
Jeff, have you made it to the Billy Ireland Museum?
I've not, and I've had people rub it in my face a lot, though. I'll tell you that. And,
I will. I will rub it in your face.
Yeah, go for it, because I'm going to make it out there. I'm going to put aside a whole day so I can just really spend the time, and everything. Because I don't know where do they store all that stuff. I've heard
there's a vault.
Okay. That's
There is
great.
there is a climate controlled vault that we went and they took us on a tour inside. I was in a tour inside this vault with Shooter and Shaken,
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah,
and it was an experience. But
I'm sure.
yeah, they brought out a page of Ernie Cohen, and Howard's not a fan, and then they argued over it.
Ernie.
Uh,
Okay, fine.
uh,
Did Jim X ask Howard, why did you base your main villain in American Flag 1 through 12 after me?
no, he did not. He did not. But it no, it's there's stuff in there that's crazy. Like Chester Gould's writing
Yeah.
desk is there, and there were covers and just so. When I was there, they had a special like Al Williamson set up. It is, you have to go.
Oh, wow. I would
Basil
love to-
Wolverton? Did they have any
What's that?
Basil Wolverton? Any Basil Wolverton?
I don't know. I mean, like I'm sure there is, like, you could just spend hours. They do a thing actually. There's a on a yearly basis, there's an application where they will pay, you can ask for like travel expenses to come and do research. Like if you have a research topic,
Oh.
they'll, like, you can fill out a grant application and they will help get people to come and
Good for them.
That's cool.
and do research.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's great. I didn't know that. That is great.
yes, I have to figure out my project so that I can go do that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it could be almost anything. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Have to narrow it down. But
Um,
I would love to go out there.
I'll yeah, it's great. I think we're out of time.
Oh, okay.
I have been. This has been great. This is exactly what the SquadCast should be. It is just conversations about comics.
Us amusing ourselves. Yes.
Yes,
I
but
agree.
it was entertaining, and it was informational. Mike told good stories. We celebrated the medium. That was the point of tonight. And in 2 weeks, you can go and celebrate the Stitch book that comes out from Dynamite that Jeff drew by accident.
Yeah, and wrote and everything. Bring me a sketchbook. I'll draw them in there. I know how to do it now.
So is there going to be more though? You said you started to say there was going to be.
I think I'm going to do another one.
Awesome.
I think I'm going to do another big fat one because it's like, well, now I know how to do it. And it's like I know the kind of notes I'm going to get and stuff I'll have to deal with. I'm a real big devil, guy.
Sure.
Like I will absolutely work with somebody again, even when I know it's like, oh, they're going to put me through the ringer on something, but I know what the ringer looks like. That's enormous and better than like, I don't know what this next thing's going to be like, it's like scary and who knows? No, and they actually did give a lot of good notes. And then they sometimes would get artists to come in and say, no, do his head more like this or something like that. And it was very helpful. So it's like, it actually turned out great. And I'm about to do more Zootopia and hopefully some more DC stuff and everything. And, yeah.
Cool.
I love all
Looking
that.
forward to it.
Thank you for letting me be on the show again. I appreciate it.
We will not wait so long for next time. So,
okay.
So
yeah, you can tell me at the last minute. I'll drop everything.
All right. Great. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Yeah.
Take it easy, Jeff.
Good to see you.
Have fun. Yeah. That's great.
Well, that was a lot of fun.
Next week,
Matthew Rosenberg is going to be here.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll get to the Abby Hoffman stories. We're going to talk about. We can also get some Todd stories because he is now taking over writing Spawn and King Spawn, effective like next month or something like that. And he has a brand new book coming out as well from Image that is getting a lot of hype, and we're going to talk about that.
So if you can, remember to ask me why Todd McFarlane never drew the Shadow.
Oh, I know the story, and I do. I want you to tell that story. Yeah. Jeff would like this story. We should have told that story to Jeff.
I almost did. Almost did.
I know you did because we were talking about bake-offs.
Yeah. That's exactly when I did.
All right, everybody. We're going to be here next Tuesday. The Tuesday after that, Colin Bunn is here. The Tuesday after that, we have a fantastic duo of guests that you're going to have to wait till next week for me to tell you who it is. And we'll be here. So read more comics. They're good for you. And take care out there.
Thanks for dropping by, folks. We aim to entertain you again next week, same time, same station.
This has been a production of the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com. How do you nerd?